Hello, everyone.
No,
Welcome. I always start singing.
I do that too. Hey.
Welcome. Oh my gosh. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our conversation about the voice, reclaiming voice, voice reclamation, and our journeys that we're going to be sharing today. My name is Gigi. If you haven't already met me, I am a women's embodiment and empowerment guide and a sound practitioner. And this is.
I'm Diana McLaughlin. I am professional soprano and voice teacher, and I'm also known as the Abundance Bookkeeper.
And we are here to speak about the voice and really to share a little bit about our own personal journeys of, you know, disconnecting from our voices and then kind of claiming and finding ourselves again. It's a journey of like reconnecting to spiritual self as well, the voice of our spiritual self and our deeper self. But also there are things here that hopefully you will connect with because it's kind of a collective experience to kind of feel like, how do I use my voice in whatever maybe profession you're in or just in your daily life. Like, this is something that we're always working with throughout different phases of womanhood as well. And it's a really powerful conversation, so I'm really happy that we're here and just kind of gonna see what wants to be shared because it is a big topic. And yeah, really what we were wanting to start with speaking about was a little bit around like what can be the challenges around our voices and what we can, come up against as blocks or restrictions. So, if you want to journal, even, I know that when we were having this conversation before, Diana and I, like, I've done so much journaling in between the conversations we've had to kind of deepen into, also my inner voice. So if you wanted to do this throughout the conversation, like, I'd highly recommend that, like taking notes and just like, how do I feel about that? And just like pausing it if you want to, just, I just feel like it's a really beautiful container for us to come together as women and just kind of explore, the voice. So yeah, I just wanted to offer that up. But yeah, where do we want to start? I'm just like, hey, where are we going to start?
So, do you want to start with um how you lost your voice?
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm like,
we can
wow.
start with how we lost our voices because both of us, when we chatted the other day, were like, there were defined moments in our lives where we were like, I lost my voice. I remember that feeling of like not being able to
Yeah,
speak, sing, whatever it was.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I even am gonna go straight to being a child because I feel like even going that far back is helpful for me whenever I'm like going along the timeline of how the voice has come and gone, and like I've
Mhm.
lost it and then I've like strengthened it, and it's kind of felt like that throughout the whole of my life. And I remember when I was younger and at school, this was a good example because I always felt so terrified to speak. Like, whenever someone said, do you have the answer? When the teacher puts you on the spot and you're just like, and
Mm,
there was a point where I was comfortable because I was in a school that I felt really nurtured in and really cared for, and the teachers were really amazing. And it was much more of it was a small school. So I felt very supported. So when I was like probably 10 till about 13, I felt really good. But it's as soon as I got to 13 plus, and then there were boys, and then there was all of that. And I felt so overwhelmed energetically by just suddenly being in this big school with all these people having all these feelings. And it speaks to me being an empath and very open energetically. I used to find it so hard to find my voice, to find what I thought about it. And I felt like that was a constant like fear of mine was like, how do I feel about this? So whenever a teacher said, so what do you think? How do you feel? I would just be like, I actually don't know, because right now I feel like I'm being put on the, like, up in front of everyone, and if I say the wrong thing, it's life and death. I
Yeah.
literally felt that that overwhelmed by it.
I still feel like that almost every day. Yeah, like when something big happens in the news and you're like, "Wait, how do I feel about that?" I have to sit with it for a couple days, and I have to really go into myself and not read the news and not read what everybody else is saying so that I
Mhm.
can really make up my mind how I feel about something before I speak. And I will wait a long time, almost to the point where it's not even relevant anymore,
Yes.
you know? Because it's like, am I afraid to offend someone? Am I afraid to be wrong about it?
Mhm.
You know, am I just, like, afraid that I haven't thought every single facet of it? Because I don't wanna miss any part of it. I'm just so thorough when I wanna make an opinion.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually I really agree with that. Like, I can get overwhelmed with not knowing everything to make some kind of,
Yeah.
anchored, like grounded response to, yeah, like a whatever it is that I'm being asked about.
Yeah.
But I do think also for me, there's a lot around of me being like sensitive and
Yeah.
an empath, and like my job role is to make everyone else happy. And that's literally how I felt every time a teacher asked me what I thought about how I felt. Like, I would be able to write it, I'd be really articulate whenever I was like doing work, like just, in my own space. But as soon as it was like open to the
Yeah.
public of the classroom, it was just like, I can't even feel my legs. It
Mhm.
was like freeze mode happened.
Oh, makes sense, though.
Yeah.
'Cause school can be horrifying anyway, just in general.
Horrifying.
Like, forget about, like, having to speak in front of them about anything that, there's an opinion, you know? Mm. I don't think anybody
Exactly.
ever asked me my opinion in school. So, that's pretty awesome that they ever asked you what you thought about anything. Because I just remember being, "This is what it is, and this is what you're learning, and just go memorize that," and it was a lot of learning by rote and a lot of, you know I don't actually remember being asked opinion very much until college,
Mm. That's
secondary
so
school,
interesting.
like, university. Yeah.
That's really interesting because, yeah, I did have a lot of opportunities for that throughout
Mhm.
school, and actually one event which I'll never forget is being asked to go to The Hague to debate with the international, like, debating
Oh,
team.
so you were on debate team.
Well, I wasn't until I was. It was
Oh, wow.
like my religious studies teacher, who I was like, that was my best subject, which, go figure, spirituality,
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about like things. He was like, you would be great at this. You have a really interesting way of thinking about things, and debates are fun. And I was like, okay. And then he didn't prep us at
Oh,
all
God.
until we got there. And then he was
Oh,
like, by the way, you're arguing on what, like, I think it was Qatar thinks about gun crime. Off you go. And I was like put into this room with all these international kids who had been studying for like
oh god.
months their country that they had been assigned to, and all of what they think and their policies about stuff. And I was just there like, I cannot believe this is happening. So again, I felt like totally underprepared, kind of
Well,
stupid as well. Like,
oh,
I've got like nothing to ground me in this. Like, how do you expect me to show up and just wing it? I can't wing what Qatar thinks about anything. Like, I
no.
don't know.
You're like,
So
"I
it
didn't
was
even
so
know
crazy.
Qatar before I got here."
I
Yeah,
know,
no, that's
exactly.
crazy. Why would they do that to you?
I burst into
Oh,
tears and refused. So
oh,
like, I do have like I have a strength when it's just like, I'm not doing that. Sorry,
yeah.
you can't put me on the chopping block and like expect me to. No, I'm not going to do it.
Good for you, though, you shut that down because you don't wanna get up and BS what another country thinks about gun laws or what? That's crazy.
I know, and they all laughed, of course, because like, you're
What?
there just kind of scrappling for something. So yeah, then I was like, I protected myself and was like, I'm not going up again. But there were lots of experiences like that when I was young, that people also assumed that I'm comfortable speaking, which, I do love speaking, but I have to really know what I'm talking about. Like I can't just like go up and wing things.
Mm, fair enough. And I do know people that do get up and wing things a lot,
Yeah.
and you can tell they're winging it too.
Exactly.
And you don't ever wanna get up and do something that doesn't feel completely you and completely what you would want to say, and that makes
Mhm.
total sense, generally speaking, unless you're, a professional wanger, and, like, there are people that do that, and they're like, "Yep." Yeah, I think a lot of politicians do it, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of people getting up speaking that don't have a clue what they're talking about and are just saying things, and then it comes back on them later, and they're kinda like, "Huh? Alright, okay, yeah, well," I think there's a lot of people that just say stuff that are just mouthpiece, and they just say whatever to, like, get through whatever conversation or whatever debate or whatever thing they're in, you know? But interesting you should go back to being in school because
Mhm.
a lot of what I'm gonna talk about, and I'll just forewarn everybody, goes back to singing because
Yeah.
there's such a huge part of, my identity, like, growing up. I remember being in middle school, which you guys don't have here, but middle school would be like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd year, like,
Mhm.
in, like, secondary school. So, like, between the ages of, like, 11 and 13,
Mhm.
right? We had a little choir and Diana loved to sing at this age, like, I just thought it was the best part of my day to go be in choir and get to sing, and I never had any reserve about my voice. I just went in and I sang from my heart all the time,
Mhm.
and it might have been loud, but I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think I was ever, like, disgustingly loud or offensive in any way as a singer, but I remember a very specific day when I started to feel bad about my voice.
Mm.
And it was because this girl who I knew her, like I knew her name, we weren't friends or anything. Just like she wrote me a note and said, "You think you're so great because you're singing so loud, but you're just a beep," you know? And I was like 11 at the time and like no one had ever said a curse word to me, like forget about telling me I was terrible for using my singing voice. And I remember just breaking my heart and I ran to my choir teacher and cried my eyes out. It was so sad. And it was kind of the start of, like, many years of people's jealousy being a thing because I felt so comfortable to just use my voice, and I never realized at that age how, like, grounded in our confidence in ourselves our voices are.
Mhm.
And as an 11-year-old girl, I was quite okay with myself at that
Mhm.
point. I hadn't been sort of told that I needed to be this or I needed to be that yet. I was still pretty young. And I remember that just sort of being the start of like this snowball, like
Mhm.
all through like secondary school, all even into college of the I'm too much or I'm not enough being a really strange kind of balance game for
Yeah.
me. Because there would be times where I would just ignore them all and I would just shine so bright with
Mhm.
my singing and whatnot before someone would say something and just break my heart. Like, and I remember having so many panic attacks in school and high school and seeming to struggle with my mental health because I just didn't know who I was supposed to be. Am I supposed to be this confident? Am I supposed to be confident about my singing and about my voice and about what I have to say? Or am I supposed to be just meek and quiet so everybody feels comfortable?
Yes.
And I think you were saying something about that, about how you were there to make people happy,
Yeah.
and you were there to make people feel comfortable, and if me
Mhm.
using my voice is gonna make people feel uncomfortable, then maybe I don't.
Yeah. Gosh, I so hear that kind of struggle internally because I used to cry every time I had to sing, get up and sing. I
Oh.
remember like through like there was a period around when I got my I suppose it's 16 when you're going through so many hormonal changes anyway, and I remember just feeling so vulnerable
Yeah.
it's always for me, get like, as much as I love to sing and I always love to sing, it always felt like I gave a part of myself when I sang. So it
Oh.
felt very much like this is so vulnerable for me. And I used to sing with a friend as well. We used to do like duets together at like summer events and things. And there was this period of time where I used to cry before everything. I would be there just sobbing, and she would be like, "You're going to be okay." And I was like, "But I'm so scared." And just like, like an energy clearing if I look back, just of like almost feeling so much pressure on myself. Like, I need to show up and be vulnerable, but I need to do it for everyone else. So it wasn't even about for the love of singing at that point. I remember then it became more about what everyone else wanted, whatever, like showing up and, like you said, not rocking the boat. Like, how did they want me
Mm.
to, sing? And then I think it just became very much about the energy in the room. I was feeling people, and then I just allowed that to affect me,
Yeah.
rather than like, okay, this is me. I'm rooted in my joy of singing and expressing myself. But then I just became very open to what other people were feeling, thinking, and that then, yeah, affected me very deeply. And I could feel the energy of the room, and
Yeah.
feel other people, but I didn't realize that's what was happening.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely that you were tuned into that at that age. I mean, I think I felt that, but I was extremely, um I would just ignore it and be like, "Nope, I'm having my moment." Mm. I had a lot of sass. I actually did have a lot of sass when I look back. I thought
Mhm.
I was very meek and very, like, weak even, but when I look back at how I fought it and how I fought back, I'm like, "Damn." I'm
Mhm.
actually kinda proud of myself that I just kept singing and I kept doing and I kept
Mhm.
singing became my escape.
Yes.
It actually became my way to avoid all of the pressure
Mhm.
because it was a safe place for me to just be absolutely me, and I
Mhm.
did have singing teachers, and I had mentors, and I had people in my ear that were helping me navigate this because I do
Mhm.
remember at one time, people were bullying me awful at school, there were things going on, and the teacher was just like, "Stop, just ignore all that. Don't listen to that, that's jealousy. You crack on and stay in your lane."
Mhm.
And I
So
stayed in my
helpful.
lane. I stayed in my lane, however, I was not liked. I
Yeah.
was not liked. I was not I remember telling my voice teacher about this in college. I was like, "I wasn't well liked in high school," and she's like, "Why?" I was like, "Well, people were jealous of me and being able to sing and stuff like that." She's like, "What?" Like, when I was in school, people just, like, actively, supported me, and I was like, "I didn't have that." I'm not coming from a place of I was in a school where even the faculty didn't even support me,
Mm.
you know? And, like, there is sort of this thing that I notice, especially here in Northern Ireland where I currently live, where if a girl gets a little too loud, a little too talented, a little too shiny and amazing on stage, someone's gonna be there to push her back down.
Mhm.
We have to put her back in her place.
Yes.
I'm always so careful with students.
Mhm.
Because, like and even in the school, like, there'll be a teacher that'll be like, "Mm, this girl thinks she's great," and I'm like, "She is great. We're not gonna break that,
Yes.
alright? We're gonna say, 'Okay, sweetie, you gotta blend with everybody else.' We're not gonna say, 'You're singing too loud.'
Mhm.
We're gonna say, 'Listen to everybody else.' Like, let's, be with the group, like, do other things. Never, ever tell a little girl that she's singing too loud."
Yeah.
Like, I'm always so careful, you know?
That's such a thread of conditioning. When I
Isn't
was
it?
like literally hearing you say, anyone gets too loud, they're shoved back in their
Yep,
place. I mean, it's just what we are dealing with right now. We're
yep,
dealing with it every single day. Anyone speaking out, anyone sharing their voice, anyone being, really advocating for what they believe in. And it's like, that person's too loud. We need to quieten
yeah,
them down. And
and
it
that
is so much a collective thing that we all experience, whatever way it comes through. Like for us, we've had, you know, singing experiences, but it happens in
like
so
you
many ways.
and speaking, because, like, I
Yeah.
mean, that's part of the reason right now why I don't speak out about certain things. I'm like, I don't need anybody trying to put me back down.
Yeah.
So I just sit with my own opinions
Yeah.
sometimes, and there are times that I do speak up, but I mean, it's just like I'm just waiting for that person that's gonna come along and be that person that goes, "No, sit down." Because we're just conditioned that that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah. And that's really the healing, isn't it?
Um,
That we can do for ourselves, but also that we're doing collectively. It's also something that we all need to, become aware of and step up around, like creating space for our own voices first, because I believe that other people will not value your voice if they don't value their own, and
mm,
like how important that is. It's like to really connect with how we feel takes time, takes space,
yeah,
takes like self-love. And these are all practices that we are, trying as people who are conscious and wanting to help that. We're trying to bring into more of the mainstream, but it's like it's such a journey, isn't it? And it takes time for people to see that, oh, self-love isn't just like putting a face mask on, it's deep. Like it is like I devote my life or parts of, my day even to creating space for me and
mhm,
for like this kind of opening up and this flourishing and being able to be who I am without those noises muffling out who I am, because they're always they're there, aren't they? They're always going to be there, all the external things that we're navigating in this world. But it's like, can I make my voice louder than those voices externally? And just like, this is really what we're talking about, our experience being like
yep,
navigating, our inner voice, and not allowing other people's fears, like, the jealous girls at your school, to hold us down in ourselves. But it is such a journey through initiation.
yeah, it is. So, do you want to talk about when the moments that we were talking about the other day
Mhm.
with, like, the time that we lost our voices?
Yes. Yeah, it kind of was chipping away a lot at me, this idea that I really wanted to sing, and I thought that that's what I would do. And when I moved from like school to London, I started like performing and going to like clubs and bars and pubs. But I didn't have like a representative or someone who was helping me. I was in a very tumultuous relationship with someone who was much older than me. So kind of looking for a mentor, but it was
Mhm,
just all rolled up in all of this other stuff. So I was trusting him and he was kind of helping direct me, but it was just chaos. So I
yeah,
was in this kind of environment that was didn't feel safe to me. It wasn't nurturing on that kind of like, having a community and being part of like,
mhm,
having a mentor and having people around who care about you is actually really, really valuable. And I didn't have that. So I kind of felt like I was putting myself again in front of a crowd, kind of opening up. And it did feel like a sacrifice every time I did it, because I didn't have this strength, and system around me that was helping me. So I felt like I was learning through every time I got up.
mhm,
Wow, I'm taking on everyone's energy. Why do I
mhm,
feel so bad? So after performing, I would be like, I'm exhausted. I feel exhausted. I feel emotional. I had to drink to get through it pretty much. That kind of
oh,
like,
yeah,
it just felt like I love doing this and I keep saying yes to it, yet everything in my body is saying stop. So
mm,
that is when it's kind of like my body shut down. And it was within this relationship that then I started to have anxiety attacks and panic attacks. So that
yeah,
was sort of like my body saying, wake up, this is not the right way to do it for you. But I was like, well, I don't know what else is, because my whole life is kind of, you get into a certain way in which you're living, and then, the
mm,
drinking and the excess, and that's very much part of the rock and roll lifestyle that you think that you should be okay with, because again, it's in conditioning. I should be able to deal with this if everyone else is. Like, why can't I? And why can't I make it work? But then it's sort of, yeah, my health was telling me, and my body was telling me something else. So then, yeah, I kind of stopped performing. I stopped putting myself out there like that because it was like, you just have to. And then the kind of healing started to happen, but very slowly for me. I had to like get out of that relationship, and it was just a lot of like, I lost my voice within that relationship as well. And
Mm,
I was just giving so much to him and giving so much to the relationship that I just felt like I'd lost who I was. Like my identity had kind of disappeared. So my
mhm.
singing voice, my internal, like what I need, my soul voice, everything, it just felt like it had just kind of evaporated, and I turned into this person. I kind of morphed into them and what they needed. So it was very kind of much like a loss of identity
Yeah.
on all levels. And then, yeah, my body just said stop. So then I removed myself, and I didn't go back to singing. I didn't do that. And so the journey of that onward was with my sound healing, and it was kind of a full body thing. It was like an awakening of me again, my internal voice and my intuition and what I need. And it's kind of, yeah, it helped me realize where I was out of balance in all ways. Like the loss of my voice was telling me you're like out of balance, and now you're going to go on a journey to remember who you are. And like, of
Yes.
course at that time you're, that's not the message you're getting, but like later on I can see that's, you know, upon reflection was what started to happen to me. It was like, you, this is a healing journey for you to really reclaim who you are.
Yes. Oh, so your voice is so connected to your entire body,
Yeah.
and your voice will reflect everything you're feeling. It will it will I mean, obviously, if you're sick, you know, it's almost impossible, and if you're tired, it's so and I think of all the instruments and all the ways of being musical that we can be, the sing being a singer is absolutely the most vulnerable thing that you could do, and it's so hard as well. Like, I mean, I was a classical musician, I went through classical training, I have my master's is in opera.
Mm-hmm.
So, you're every day you go into university, you go in, you're getting constant feedback, feedback, feedback. And it's like, it's not just about your, you know, you being a musician or whatever. It's like your whole entire identity is tied up in it. So when
Mm-hmm.
somebody is constantly, um, you know, giving you constructive or not feedback, it's it can kind of break you.
Mm-hmm.
Like being a classical musician broke me in the first place, in the
Mm-hmm.
first instant. Like when I was finishing up my master's degree, I was so burnt out I couldn't see straight. Like, it was just
Mm-hmm.
unbelievable. But yet I could still sing at that point because I still held on to the hope, you know, that this was gonna be my path. This is gonna be my career path, you know, that I was gonna sing. I didn't even know why I was doing it, dude, at this point. It was like, I
Mm-hmm.
can make pretty sounds and I like how it feels.
Yes.
You know, I liked how it felt to be able to emote in that kind of way. I liked studying the pedagogy. I liked figuring out what I could do with it. Like, how could I make myself sound, you know? But, like, the point where I lost my voice was COVID. And I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people we were talking about this earlier, a lot of people can relate to so much loss during COVID. Like, we lost so much. Like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
god. Like, I mean, when I think about my children, I have 3 children, the years I lost with them, you know,
Mm-hmm.
out doing fun things and, you know, just being with them in their childhood, we were so absent. We were so consumed, you know, in everything that was COVID. But I when I got pregnant with my 3rd child, I made the decision that I was going to close my studio, which I had been teaching since I landed in Ireland. 11 years prior at this point. Was it 10 or 11 years? And I was gonna close my studio, and I was gonna move back to the United States after I had my baby. Um, so the baby was due in February of '25. He was born in February '25. I was like, "Okay, we'll move this summer. We'll go back to the US."
Mhm.
And then COVID hit in March, and suddenly I was stuck in Northern Ireland with 3 kids and very little support. Support's a big thing. We've talked about support, and, like, it's a big thing in everything that you're doing, like
Mhm.
parenting, your career, you as a singer, you as just a person. You need support, you need your support network, right? So, I was trapped with, very little support network. My poor husband was essential, had to work the whole way through COVID, so we didn't even get any extra time from that. I did get to stay home with my baby for a year, which was amazing. That woulda never happened otherwise, you know? But when I tried to sing again, like, kind of, like, right after COVID was sort of wrapping up, I just remember this pain that, I only ever feel when you're, like, when you're getting ready to cry and you try to sing, that sort of, like, grip, like, right here. Anytime I tried to vocalize, the tears would well up, the voice would go stiff, and I was
Mhm.
just like, "What is going on? Why am I so emotional? Why do I feel stuck?" And it was like I didn't realize I had lost this whole part of myself. Like, I sang every day of my life.
Mhm.
Every day I sang with the kids. I at one point, I had, like, 50 students. I sang with everybody.
Mhm.
I every day, my energy was in singing with people, you know, singing with other people, and suddenly I couldn't sing with anybody but the baby, you know? And I was very, very scared that when COVID ended, that I wasn't going to have a career anymore, that I would just be forgotten, that, because I was what age was I during COVID? I was like 35, 36, and in my mind, I was like, "I'm getting old." There's the conditioning, well,
Mhm.
which we'll come back to that because that comes up again. And I was like, "I'm never gonna be able to go into another audition." I'm fat again because I just had a baby and I've been sitting for a year at a desk, and it was just like, "Oh, it's all ruined, like, forget that." But then when I would try to sing and try to emote, it was just so painful, and what brought me out initially was someone came along and offered me an opera role out of the blue. The weird thing about me is that every role that I've ever played, and I've played a lot actually considering, I have never gone to an audition. People just knew I could sing, or heard me sing, or knew who I was, and I got roles. This was out of the blue, and like, an hour and a half away, I had a friend who, like, was doing a gig that the soprano dropped out, and she's like, "I know someone,"
Mhm.
and I got the job with, like, sight unseen. They were like, "We were told that you can do this, and we just believe it."
Mhm.
And I was like, "That's crazy, but thank you for taking me on board." And it was the most gorgeous opera written
Mhm.
for babies to be
Oh,
performed
wow.
for babies, and we were playing the 4 elements, and I was Earth, which was so appropriate. I was Earth. It had a flute player and a harpist. The harpist was fire, the flute was water, and then or she should have been air, and the, alto was, air. So air, water, fire, earth,
Mhm.
and it was all performed, like, for these little babies and their parents, like, just after COVID. We were wearing masks sometimes, like, like, we tested every day before we went to rehearsal, and singing to babies, a combination of singing to babies and getting back into a little bit of teaching. I just did little tiny bits of teaching. And then I experienced a great loss in my life. My grandmother passed away, and that was another moment of, another layer of,
Mhm.
am I ever gonna sing again? Am I gonna do anything important with this
Mhm.
thing that I have? And an audition. I actually auditioned for something. I auditioned to conduct a choir, and I took on a choir of 10 to 13-year-old girls, and they're just my life now, like, and I am so, so happy to be sharing the powerful gift that is learning to sing, and I do teach
Mhm.
all 40 of them how to sing, like, we do a lot of technique, um, and a lot of emoting, because a lot of what we sing is extremely emotional stuff. For some reason, this choir organization, we like to like to hit the sensitive strings in people, and, it's all about expressing and, bringing that stuff to life, and just kind of getting back to it and, getting back into it, but, like, there's a whole other layer of spiritual work that I was doing there too. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Like, I talk about just going back out there and singing again, but, like, I mean, I've done at that point, I think I had done some shadow work, I had done,
Mhm.
um I hadn't started learning Reiki yet, but, like, there was all sorts of stuff that I was tuned into at the time, and then just becoming aware of my empath and aware of my intuition. I was just kinda waking up to the whole intuition thing and energy and realizing how much energy work I had been doing my entire life and not really realizing it was energy work and, like,
Mhm.
all of that. I'm like, as I sit here right now, I'm like, "Gosh, Diana, you're a lot more confident than you give yourself credit for." When I think about, how much more I could have been silenced
Yeah.
and how much more I could have withdrawn and how much more I could have stopped sharing, it is a calling in my soul, and I'm realizing that as I'm coming back to all these things, you know?
Mhm.
And even just here talking with you right now, it's like, as soon as you mentioned, "Hey, let's have a call," I was, like, so excited and my whole body was like, "Yes, yes, let's talk about music and singing and just using our voices and, like, just speaking in general as a woman in this
Yeah.
world right now." Yes, I could talk about it all day, you know? Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, I'm open to using it so much more, um,
Mhm.
and helping other people with
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
place that just gets blocked sometimes, and, like, how do we open that back up? And, I mean, everybody has different ways of getting back to it, and some of them you don't even realize until you really, really sit down and think about all the work you were doing at that time, and, um yeah, sharing is just a big thing for me, and as a performer, that's what we do anyway, we're sharing, and we
Mhm.
forget, and there's so much that comes back to you from sharing. We said this the other day, like, anytime that you are giving, there is something coming back, and yes, you can overgive, alright, enough, you can, and you do have to stay very aware of your own energy and what you can safely give, without depleting yourself. But sometimes, man, like, I get into the round of giving, and it's just like, it just keeps giving back, and I just feel I'm like, "I don't even care that I'm overgiving because you're giving me so much back," you know? Like, to have an audience like that of 10 to 13-year-olds where you get that instant gratification
Mhm.
of, "No, girls, do it like this," and they
Mhm.
give it back, and you're like, "Oh, that is it. Oh my god." I mean, you'd hardly get in an audience that appreciated your singing so much,
Mhm.
although I've had it. I've had people stand up and do standing ovations at performance that I've given, but just nothing compares to being able to actually see your audience and actually
Mhm.
see them learn something and get something out of it. Mm,
I love so much of what you said because also part of listening to you and even you saying wow, Diana, like I have done so well. I think that's a big part of why we need to do this work, especially as women, because we give ourselves such a hard time.
yeah,
Internally, the story is like, how have I not got it all together? How have I had to spend this time doing that? And I'm not being perfect or whatever the conditioning is. And when we sit together and we share and we speak about it and we reflect
mhm,
and we have these containers, which are so powerful, and we feel that support, it's amazing how quickly we move through things. It's amazing how much we open and our voices open. And one of the biggest parts of me reclaiming my voice in general, with obviously the sound therapy training for me was huge, like vibrational medicine and opening up my energy again, but was is holding women's circle, is holding
mhm,
spaces for women to share, and so much of my healing has come from that, holding spaces that are shame free, that it is not
mhm,
about judgment, that it is not about self criticism. It's about really understanding what happens when we listen to ourselves, when we view our whole life and our journeys as lessons. And what have I learned and what have I gained? What's the wisdom that I've gained? And that we can really then start to like settle into and ground into our gifts, which is, a part of the beauty of also the pain that we've experienced. But we ground deeper into our gifts, what we can do to help others who are going through the same thing, and just how beautiful that feels and
Yeah.
how special that is. And that's really what we're opening a space up for, isn't it? To have this conversation and to invite others who resonate with that, whether you are an entrepreneur, a business owner, someone who has to, show up and also, in your daily life, like, how do I feel about that? Or what do I need to say? Or how can I express myself in a way that feels authentic? Like that is such it's just such inspiration to be able to, offer spaces where we get to think like that because we just don't get reflective spaces. That's just not what is built into the structure of our days in society. It's just move forward, think about what's in front of you, and like go. And if it's not working, then why is it not working? What are you doing wrong? And it's like the more we can build in these spaces where we're reflecting, we're sitting with what we're feeling, how we're feeling, we're thinking about it, we're talking about it, and we're rooting deeper into like our beingness as women and our power. It's just like so healing for everyone.
Yes, I love a women's circle. I love it. I was just at one, like, the other week, and it was so amazing. We were, like, giving and receiving this energy, and that was where I got this sort of, like, you receive as you give thing. I was just like, "Whoa, I do feel that," you
Mhm.
know? So cool, so great.
I know, and we're giving, and that's what women do together though as well. Like that's how we
Mhm,
heal so much of the conditioning that we have around overgiving, around being
mhm,
sacrificing ourselves, is sitting together as women and going, oh, I'm giving and you're receiving, then you're giving back. This is how that works because we haven't been taught
mhm.
to do that. It's been like I
Yeah,
share and then the woman judges me. And it's just like, huh?
yeah,
It's competition. Whereas when we sit together in circle, we remember that ancient wisdom of, oh, me sharing with you is giving, and then you're giving and receiving. And that is like so much part of like the breaking and the shattering of the illusion of that way of being together as women, and just really anchoring into a whole new paradigm of the feminine and like us together. And it is so powerful.
we're actually so awesome too.
So amazing. So amazing.
Like, we are actually the coolest, like, humans ever, like, you like to kinda say negative things about being a woman too, and you're like, "Ugh, all the things we have to go through, blah, blah, blah." It's like, but we're also awesome
Yeah.
because when you get us together, like, how freaking, like, oh,
I know.
how amazing is it?
I know. And there's so much more that we could talk about, and
Yeah.
maybe we'll share more in another conversation. But I
Mhm.
feel like that was so beautiful, and thank you for sharing. And everyone
You?
who's watched or listened and has any questions, just let us know. But really what we're inviting you, if you're resonating with what we're talking about, is just to reach out to us and say you're interested, because we are opening a wait list for what we are cooking up together, to work around the voice and reclaiming voice. And maybe that's singing, but maybe that's also just how you show up and speak your truth. And there'll be, yeah, many beautiful healing layers to it, which is very exciting.
Awesome.
So you can reach out to either of us and just like say waitlist or I'm interested, and then we'll get back to you. But yeah, thank you. This was beautiful.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Gigi.
Thank you. Bye.